Contrary to what the national sports press says, Aaron Donald did not channel his inner Allen Iverson talking about practice yesterday. Rice's coach says USC has no idea what they're about to face Saturday. Yeah, they do. And are we about to get a future look at third base for the LA Dodgers? Good morning, I'm James. This is your daily dose of sports and snark for the greatest sports city in the world, Los Angeles. This is Faithful Angelenos. It's September 1st, 2022. By this time tomorrow, I'm going to be back with my wife. It's going to be a beautiful thing. But until then, let's talk LA sports. If you like the content we've been putting out, clickety-clack the like button. Clickety-clack the subscribe button. There's a notifications bell. Hit that. It'll let you know when we put out new content. Sharing is caring. Let people know we exist. And yes, comments. I am not God. I understand. Before we go through the news, we take a look at the scores. Not a good day for LA teams yesterday, to be honest. Mookie Betts hit a solo home run. It was the only run they would get. Mets 2, Dodgers 1. The Padres have climbed to within 18 and a half games of first place. Oh no! What will we do? Ricky Puig snaps this just brilliant golazo in the 89th minute to lift the LA Galaxy to a 2-2 tie with Toronto FC and MLS. However, if the playoffs started today, the Galaxy are actually below the playoff line. And Christian Arango scored, but LAFC has lost 3 consecutive matches and not two particularly good teams. Houston 2, LAFC 1. Meanwhile, today, the Dodgers will play the Mets at 1. That's Clayton Kershaw, 7-3. Chris Bassett, 11-7 for New York. Okay, so Aaron Donald goes on a radio show and he speaks about that helmet swinging melee, fracas, brouhaha with the Cincinnati Bengals last week. And in hearing him out, there's been a big time lapse. If you're a younger person, you may have not heard who Allen Iverson is. For those of you who don't know, he was this guy who used to play for Philly in the NBA. And he was once called out for not practicing hard by his coach. His defense was, why should I practice hard? It's not the game. Aaron Donald didn't do that. And we're going to get to that in a moment. But what I will say, whether it's Allen Iverson or whether it's Aaron Donald, I think we have to realize whenever an athlete says it's just practice, it's never about good news. Never. You never hear good news related to practice. You know, in real life, you never hear this guy say, oh, dude, I met this chick last night and we practiced having kids all night long. Oh, I never knew I could practice so hard all night. Yeah, it may just be practice, and then about in 20 days, you're going to realize you got a child support bill coming in. Talking about practice is never good. Now, as for Aaron Donald, Allen Iverson was criticized for talking about how he didn't practice that hard. Aaron Donald is criticized for practicing too hard. I mean, we are going to have to come to a conclusion. Are we going to take practice lightly or are we going to take practice too seriously? So, you know, Aaron Donald is like, why are you punishing me for practicing too hard? Sure, there's brain damage involved, but make up your mind, guys. Is it just practice or are we supposed to practice hard? What do you want? And besides, the season's starting in about a week. We're going to forget this. Let's keep chatting about the Rams. CBS Sports forecasts a big return for wide receiver Allen Robinson. He had bonked on a contract year last year over in Chicago. He only had 36 catches, 1 TD. But in his defense, he was injured. And, well, he had a rookie, a quarterback, who had a poor offensive line. The Rams don't have any of that. So that's why they think he's going to break it out. Coach Sean McVay says all hands are on deck in the running back room. That, in other words, Darrell Henderson and Cam Akers are practicing again. So good news for the Rams, the defending champs. This weekend is going to mark the big first Saturday for college football. It'll include both USC and UCLA. Now, for this weekend's game, Rice coach Mike Bloomgren says USC will not know what to expect from the Owls. Yes, they do. They really do. And I hope belly rubs are something that Rice really appreciates, because that's what the Trojans are going to do after the Owls roll over on their backs, put up their nice furry little paws, and LA is just going to sit there and go, "Oh, aren't you so cute, Rice? This is what we expected. Aren't you so cute? Yes, you are." Now USC is going to score another TD. We'll be back after celebrating. You just stay cute lying down on your back. Rice was probably, out of 130 college football teams last year, they might have been in the 110s in terms of ability. Stop it. We know what to expect. It's going to be an ass kicking. Now, rosters are going to expand today in Major League Baseball. Expect Miguel Vargas to return to the Dodgers. Now, why does this matter? He is their number 3 prospect in the organization, but more importantly, they call him an infielder, but he's primarily a third baseman. He may be the heir apparent to Justin Turner. Now, he did get called up this year. He was part of the Futures game for MLB during All-Star Weekend. He was 2-8 with a brief time with the big club. They sent him back to the minors, and all of a sudden, kaboom, he's hitting .375. Now, they're trying to temper expectations. They're saying it's not an audition for third base. Dave Roberts was saying that. But Justin Turner is now in a contract year, and he's 37. Meanwhile, Vargas can play third base, left field. There's a designated hitter in the NL now. So he does have a shot at the postseason roster. This is something to pay attention to if you're a Dodger fan. Also for LA, Danny Duffy pitched an inning in Oklahoma City, the AAA affiliate, last night, struck out the side, decent return. Not all Dodgers, however, returned from injury and set the world on fire. Chris Taylor is hitting less than 200. Dave Roberts calls that alarming, and I don't blame him. Be happy for Jake Reed, a relief pitcher. He got called up to the Dodgers, and 2 nights ago, he got a save against the team that used to employ him. He was extremely happy about that. Trey Turner is now the 4th Dodger to join Team USA for the World Baseball Classic. And if you haven't seen the World Baseball Classic, when it comes around next year, it's like a World Cup soccer for baseball. It's actually a lot of fun. And relief pitcher Evan Phillips has retired the last 29 batters that he faced. The last batter he allowed on base was Manny Machado with a single on August 8th. The guy is just absolutely lights out. Sony Michel, former Rams and Patriots running back, he was cut recently in training camp by Miami. He agrees to come to the Chargers. This is actually a pretty decent idea for the Bolts. Last season, Michel rushed for 845 yards and 4 touchdowns because Cam Akers was hurt, right? He blew out his Achilles. And then Akers returns, playing time for Michel diminishes. That's why he was let loose. I believe that the Bolts signed him because after training camp, they still don't know who's going to be the clear number 2 behind Austin Eckler. This is a clear answer, so I understand why they did it. As a result, the Chargers waive Larry Rantry. So, guy's looking for a job right now. Over at UCLA, the LA Times is reporting that the combined salaries of the entire Bruins coaching staff will surpass $10 million. So those wins are going to be pretty damn pricey over in Westwood. I don't think they can afford to skip out on a bowl game like they did last year. But Chip Kelly, the head coach, it's not exactly clean up on aisle 5, especially when you consider they're playing Bowling Green in the first weekend. But after defensive coordinator Bill McGovern fretted over the defensive progress of his players, Kelly said, "Oh, no, we're doing just fine. We're pleased with the progress. The players have a grasp of the defensive schemes. The only thing is we just don't know who's playing weak side linebacker yet. 3 people are in the running, so it's all good. Well, it may be. I can't give you an answer. We just don't know yet. And I don't think we're going to get an answer out of Bowling Green either, but we'll find out. Now, by the way, side note for both USC and UCLA, I will be posting preview clips of their games this weekend prior to kickoff on Saturday. We have talked a lot about Quinton Byfield of the LA Kings and how he's crucial to the progress of the Kings for next season. But if you recall, if you watch the Kings a lot, you would remember that he wasn't the original third line center behind Andre Kopitar and Philip Deneau. That was Rasmus Kupari, another prospect that the Kings are going to need to see progress from soon. Now, Kupari is a former 20th overall pick. The problem was when he originally came up, Byfield didn't make the team out of training camp because he broke his ankle. Kupari went in. The problem with Kupari back then was he didn't play enough defense. They sent him back to the Ontario Reign, their minor league affiliate, and Kupari winds up returning not as a center, but as a winger. So what do we make of him? Because Byfield was a center. What do we make of Rasmus Kupari? He didn't even play a lot during the playoffs. From everything I'm reading about the LA Kings, this is not exactly a make or break season for Rasmus Kupari, like it probably is for Gabriel Velarde, we talked about Gabriel Velarde a couple of weeks ago on this channel. The reason it's not for Kupari versus Velarde, and those are 2 very singable names. Remember, anybody else remember the old singing duo of Kupari and Velarde? I do. They were wonderful. But it was a lovely evening whenever I would put on some Kupari and Velarde on for the wife. But anyway, I sidetracked. Contracts and NHL experience, much like you only have so many options in the major leagues, it's the same for the NHL. So it seems to me there's a possibility that Velarde is going to make the team just to give him that one last look. And Kupari might still, even though he was a regular contributor for the Kings, be in the minor leagues this year. I find that to be a very interesting experience while the Kings try to figure out who is a regular NHLer and who isn't. While Kupari's down at Ontario, I would assume he's going to continue to work on his forechecking. But that's another story we'll have to approach in a few months. I want to blow your mind about a guy who was a Laker for maybe 2 minutes in the 1970s. There's this guy named Junior Bridgman. He was originally drafted by the Lakers, and the Lakers just traded him off to Milwaukee to get Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. A couple other players, of course, went too. Now, we all know how great Kareem Abdul-Jabbar was for Los Angeles. And don't get me wrong, Junior Bridgman could play. He had a 10-year career in relative obscurity, though, in Milwaukee. But the thing that occurs to me is salaries back then weren't what they are now. Junior Bridgman never made more than $350,000 a year. Junior Bridgman is worth over $600 million now. Crazy. And oh, by the way, his net worth, 30 times more than Kareem. He invested it in Wendy's and Pepsi. And the man is worth over $500 million. Finally, for USC basketball, they have added a 7-foot Russian big man, Yaroslav Niagu, to the team. He was part of an academy out in Australia. Is the guy any good? I have no idea. We'll have to find out in the winter. Now, if you enjoyed today's broadcast, don't forget to like and subscribe to Faithful Angelenos. We are trying to build something here for LA Sports. Thank you for watching. I'm James. We'll be back tomorrow. Faithful Angelenos is a Quian Corte El Queso production. Take care.